England over New Zealand, 19 points to 7 in the semi-final of the Rugby World Cup. As a New Zealand fan, that's a pretty tough result because that was absolutely dominant from England. I can't remember the last time the All Blacks have looked so quiet against the team. I mean, you look at this, there's a try apiece, but the one try that England did concede was a bit of a gift. It wasn't some moment of magic from the All Blacks. It wasn't a great play. It was just that one kind of mistake that England let through, and the All Blacks managed to grab a few points from it. But overall, boy, England were as good as the All Blacks were over Ireland the week before, man. They were just always in control. So congratulations to England. That is a top result, and they are deserved finalists for the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Started with a pretty intense haka. England did a V formation, which was interesting, but they didn't really move around during it, and the crowd seemed pretty quiet during the singing of the performing of the haka. And I was doing a live stream, and one of the guys who was at the game watching my live stream also mentioned that nobody was singing. So interesting, different choice of the fans compared to last week. But whatever the fans were doing and the team were doing, it started off well for England because what a start. There was Watson down the right wing. He was getting meters. Sinclair had a great offload, and eventually Tuilangi goes off the base of a ruck and gets the try within not even at 2 minutes, and it's converted, so it's 7-0 to England. The play starts again. Ford gets a strip on, I think it was Laulala, and England go on the attack again. Tuilangi intercepts a Bowden Barrett pass. May goes down the wing, but Scott Barrett manages to disrupt, which was a good line from him for usually a lock, but this time a loose forward. Chasing down one of the quickest guys in the game, but he managed to disrupt, and eventually England knocked it on. 16, I think, minutes, New Zealand got a penalty. They did turn down 3, they went for touch, but they lost their own line-out ball, so England's line-out, it's a theme of this game, their line-out and their breakdown work were phenomenal. So I think it was Laws and Itoje both had a line-out steal, so yeah, it was not going New Zealand's way, and England were just up for it. 24 minutes, the TMOs look at a potential try for Underhill. They rule that there's a bit of obstruction from Curry as a dummy runner. He goes in front of Sinclair and disrupts a potential tackle from Whitelock on Sinclair. I mean, it looked partly like Whitelock just chose the wrong guy, that he was fooled by the move, but I guess there was enough there to justify it being called off. So kind of a bit of a escape, a bullet dodge there for New Zealand, because it could have been worse. Eventually, New Zealand do go back on the counter-attack, and Retallick gets a big line break, but they can't really do anything from it. The English scramble defence is phenomenal, and everything is shut down. 30 minutes, England win a scrum penalty. And again, this is to go with all the penalties they're winning at the breakdown and the line-out steals. Ford misses a drop goal on 31 minutes. Starts to rain, so you kind of got to expect maybe the handling is going to get a bit worse. But on 40 minutes, Ford kicks a really good penalty. So that's just before halftime. They go into the sheds 10-0 ahead of the All Blacks at halftime. The stats, New Zealand have got more run meters at 281 to 233, but possession is 62% England, territory is 69% England. They've got a lot fewer tackles having to be made as well. So, yeah, it was about as controlling as a half of rugby can be. Second half, I guess the All Blacks identify that they are in trouble at the breakdown, so they bring on Sam Cane for Scott Barrett to maybe inject a bit of power at the breakdown. It's not going to work, spoiler alert, because you can see the scoreline, but I guess I understand the logic. 42 minutes, Daly has a long shot at goal for a penalty, but he misses it. And at that point, I'm starting to count up the points. Ford's missed the drop goal. Daly's missed a penalty. That's 6 points. You want to be taking every chance you can get against the All Blacks, because at some point, you know the All Blacks are going to come back. You know they're going to do it. It's only a matter of time. But in this game, it's kind of not, because England don't let up off the gas. Young's has a try initially awarded. England get a good maul going on. and then he kind of snipes from the back of it and just runs straight over for a try. And at that point, it's starting to look like real trouble for the All Blacks. But the TMO, who is one eagle-eyed dude, spots a transfer of the ball from the player at the back of the maul back to a player ahead of him at the maul, and then back to him again. So he says that transition from the guy at the back to the guy in front of him is forward. So the try is ruled off. Now, when they slowed it, kind of frame by frame or whatever it was, you can kind of guess like, okay, he lost control of it and gave it to the guy. But in real time, it just looked like the ball moving through a maul. So that was kind of another bullet dodged for the All Blacks. And I'm, again, starting to wonder for England's side, 2 missed kicks, 2 TMO calls not going their way. Maybe it's not going to be the night when New Zealand come back into it. 48 minutes, New Zealand get warned about the number of penalties. And Ford kicks one to make it 13 points to 0. So almost 2 scores ahead. The TMO does have a look at a tackle from Slade on Reese, as Reese is trying to go kind of towards the English try line, but he's pushed into touch by Slade. The New Zealand commentary team was like, that's definitely a shoulder he's going. But again, if you're going to slow it frame by frame for that maul to rule out that English try, when you slowed this one frame by frame, sure enough, the arm comes around and it wraps and it's all good. And thankfully, they played on. So I guess the calls were a bit balanced in that regard. Because if they'd called that one like a yellow card for England, I would have been, even as a New Zealander, I would have been on the All Blacks are getting favourable treatment bandwagon. But thankfully, they called it as play on. 56 minutes, though, England kind of pay for it because they've just taken Reese into touch. So they get a line out, but it's in their own 22, and they mess up the lineup. They throw it to nobody who gets it, and Savia is the first guy. He just grabs it because nobody else claims it. So he intercepts the line-out ball and just goes straight over unopposed for a try. It is a gift of a try. It's a gift. So they kick the conversion. It's 13 points to 7. And at that point, again, I'm thinking that things are adding up. 2 missed kicks for England. 2 tries denied. A gift of a try. Surely this is the All Blacks about to come surging back. But England do not let up. 60 minutes, Underhill puts a massive tackle onto Geordie Barrett to force him to knock the ball on, enabling England to kind of go back onto the attack. They do get penalty advantage, but Ford knocks the ball on cold, but they still take 3 points from it to make it 16 points to 7. 66 minutes, and the pressure's starting to get to the All Blacks. The All Blacks did win a penalty. They had, I think, advantage, but Sam Whitelock pushed Farrell in the face, pushed him down to the ground, and the TMO spotted it, reversed the penalty. Fair enough. So again, if you're going to be strict on one side, you got to be strict on the other. That was kind of a brain fart moment. You can't be doing that with all the cameras around. If you put your hand in somebody's face, you're going to get pinged for it. So for a guy of his experience, he'll be disappointed to give that away. 69 minutes, Ford kicks a penalty. It was Retallick that gave one away at the maul, so that makes it 19 points to 7. That is the final score, but there's still like 10 minutes to play. The All Blacks do get some moves going with Reese and TJ Perenara. Dane Coles gets a line break, but Mark Wilson, who's just come on, gets a great turnover. 77 minutes, Ford misses a penalty, but by that point, the fat lady, if she wasn't singing, she was really warming up and ready to come on stage. The All Blacks would have needed 2 scores in the last kind of 2 or 3 minutes, but it just never looked like happening. The English defence was just all over them, and they just looked lost for that last minute where they did have the ball. They were throwing it around, trying to get a consolation try. Never looked like coming off. So the All Blacks attack looked pretty hopeless at times, it must be said, but that all comes down to, because there's a lot of attacking talent in that All Blacks team. That comes down to the work that the English guys were doing. It was phenomenal. The likes of Itoje, Underhill, Curry, and many others were really putting in A great effort. So final stats: run meters 620 to 392 to the All Blacks, but those run meters don't count for all that much. A lot of that would have been trying to run it back out of their own 22, to be fair. Possession, England 56. Territory, England 62, so they dominated that, especially the first half. It was a bit more even in the second half, but first half was really England, and at times in the second half as well. Final tackling stats, New Zealand actually had 89% tackling, so they did a fair bit of that pretty well, but still, all the infringements they considered allow England to keep ticking the scoreboard over. England tackled at 82%, so England made 145, New Zealand made 161. Kind of indicates some of the pressure they were under, having to keep all the tackles being made. Penalties conceded, New Zealand 11, England just the 6. So again, infringements and punished by England. Offloads, New Zealand made 21 to England's 10. So actually, Joe Schmidt, when he was talking about Ireland's loss, was saying, you don't necessarily just need to offload to win games, because Ireland under him, traditionally not a big offloading team. Well, England have proved that. It's not necessarily just about playing flashy offloads. Turnovers conceded, New Zealand 19, England 13. So a big area. If you're only going to have 44% of the ball, you can't be conceding like a third or maybe double more turnovers than the other team. So England at the breakdown, like I said, the line-out, scrum time, all very solid. So individuals, Watson had 81 run meters with 5 defenders beaten. Beauden Barrett had 99 run meters, but I feel like a lot of that is just running back kicks. 4 defenders beaten from him. Underhill had 12 tackles out of 14. Ford had 15 out of 16. So hopefully he's done a bit of his deltas. Kind of a bit of, I guess, he's put some doubt back in their minds. Turnovers conceded, I think it was 16-5. So the turnovers won. England managed to turn New Zealand over 16 times. I think actually, like specifically, rather than just including knock-ons and whatnot, actually winning turnovers, 16-5. And Savia had 18 out of 18 tackles and losing effort. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to go to bed. England far too good. And this one for the All Blacks, 19 points to 7. You might say that scoreline maybe doesn't even do England justice. So, top effort. Congratulations again to England. If you haven't got yourself an England jersey and you're an England fan, you should probably get one before those things sell out, because that's a pretty big historic victory. But, on to the final for them. We will see who makes it through to meet them between South Africa and Wales. But, you guys let me know your thoughts on this one, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later. Well, England fans, if you haven't got yourself an England rugby jersey for the 2019 Rugby World Cup, now could be a decent time to do it, with a pretty big emphatic win over the All Blacks and a trip to the Rugby World Cup final. So England Rugby Store, remember, use the code 2cents10 and you get 10% off. Plus they've got free delivery in the UK, orders over 60 quid, which is all of the items here. The classic jersey, they've only got large left, so you better move quick if you are looking for one in that size. The Pro jersey, which is the fancy players style one, only medium left. The long sleeve one, that one's got a few options if you're still keen on the white. Otherwise, if you don't mind the away jersey, which I am a decent fan of, although if you want to go with that classical, you've got to go white. So still stock left there. But yeah, guys, pretty big performance by England. Even me, a New Zealand fan, may have to get one if they end up winning the Rugby World Cup. But top stuff, guys. Take care, and remember, link in the description. Use the code 2cents10, get 10% off, and I'll talk to you again soon.